last year this was posted, and because of Christmas and New Year's, didn't get around to it. But from Van Brand, who is currently let's see.
Is he a producer or?
It doesn't really say. I'm not too sure whether he's producer or writer, but he is part of the production. So it's saying that the Sonic the Hedgehog movie characters may have redesigns, but nothing too extreme. So we're looking somewhere between Sonic Boom redesign and the design of Sonic in the fan film by Eddie LeBron.
Yeah. I'm going to say, though, that we haven't really touched upon, actually, the Sonic movie really at all, like last year, because...
Not since it was announced, no.
No, I mean, because partly, there's not really much to go on at the minute. I mean,
no, it was announced and being produced by Sony, which is always allowed, considering they have such bright ideas to what put forward, such as cancelling the Popeye movie to make way for the Emoji movie.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other story in itself. Oh, boy.
Yes. And aside from the announcement that the producer of Deadpool will be directing...
But I mean, yeah, that's the only other thing, is the director of Deadpool is apparently decided not to do...
Producer of Deadpool, not director.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure well, anyway, basically, he's decided not to do DP2 and jump onto this, apparently.
So, it's not really much to say. It's like, it's to be a big deal, but right now, it's like, it's happening, but there's not much to go on. It's like, it's bits of trickles of news. It's like, and as far as the fan spectrum of things, it's like, Mania has more footing. Whenever new stuff comes about that, there's more talk about. The Sonic movie, like, okay.
Right.
But as far as the redesigns go, that's kind of a...
Well, that's a touchy subject for some Sonic fans.
That's kind of a broad analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, would it be designed like Sonic Boom, where it's got kind of the same, I guess, model, but slightly different?
All right.
Or is it, again, the Eddie LeBron movie, where it's like, it is Sonic, but it's much more realistic?
This is something I want to talk about with this whole subject. Okay, so considering that we still don't know what they're going to look like, I mean, really, for me, the only thought I've gone through this whole business is basically there are two ends that are going to go down this route, all right? They're either going to go down the Transformer/Smurfs look, where they try to make them look, belong in the real world, in the sense that they design them that they look like they could fit in the real world if they were real things, that type of deal. But again, you look at something like the Smurfs, and it's sort of that unreal, it's kind of that hyper-real, kind of Uncanny Valley type deal. Or they go the opposite end, which is either the last SpongeBob movie, where they just took the basic characters, they're still very cartoony looking characters, but they just made them, they render them in, the right lighting and textures and stuff, and just go on that. But the other thing, one thing I was looking at, this just came across me as I was searching the web. Somebody's actually done a render of a worm done in a sort of hyper-real thing. It's done by the website's called smashingrenders.deviantart.com, and they've done this basically worm parachuting. And in many ways, this is kind of, if I was approached to say, just for shits and giggles, if someone came to me, what would a worm look like in an animated form or a feature film form, this is probably what they would go with. And if anything, this is probably like a nice indicator to where, if they were to do this level of detail on Sonic, if they still kept the basic outline, like the modern Sonic as we know it, if they were to do that, but with this excess detail, Dan, do you think that would be a good route to go down?
No.
All right.
It's like, Worms, I'm looking at the Worms picture, and it doesn't really have much structure. It's like, it's meant to be wacky. Sonic is not made to be wacky unless you talk about Sonic Boom.
Yeah.
But there are examples of Sonic and Cass actually in the real world, and does seem to fit in normally, like the Progressive advert or even the trailer for Sonic Boom.
Yeah. I mean, again, those are just like the normal general Sonic renders that we get from all like the major games.
The only other time officially we've had Sonic in real was Sonic 06, and they redesigned the character to fit accordingly.
Yeah.
But it still stood out.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, is like with that aspect, going back to what about the SpongeBob thing, I mean, that's what I mean is that if they were to do live action, if they were just to keep the same basic renders we know of the modern Sonic gang to look like and just put them in the real world, would you think that would work? Do you think that would still work? Or would you have to redesign them for a more fitting tone for a movie?
I wouldn't redesign them. I think
No.
I think the current designs of Sonic, especially given the amount of detail in the world itself, like the opening of Sonic Unleashed, like just do that. Just put Sonic in. Yeah, you can see like little lines in his head for where his quills are.
Yeah.
So maybe some bit of skin texture, because you see Eggman's skin texture, that was real.
Yeah.
So as far as redesigning the characters, maybe a few split frails of quills, maybe some actual physical damage if they were into battle.
Yeah,
But again, as far as nothing extreme, I don't think the character design would, if it is not too extreme, have a slight redesign. I'll say maybe a few realistic textures, but nothing to a point where it's in the uncanny valley of kill it with fire.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what's interesting, because the other aspect, of course, is that, like you mentioned about the fan film a couple of years ago, which, as far as I'm right, that's the first time anybody's ever attempted to try and do Sonic in live action, right? As having him as a CG character with live actors in real environments.
Aside from people putting in screen grabs of Source Filmmaker, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying this is the first time someone actually tried to say, what can it be done? And obviously, when you look at that, that's a lot shorter, and most of the stuff I'm aware of, I remember reading the production for that. A lot of the animation were done by the main guy himself, so it was kind of like a one-man team, halfly. But but I bet you in many ways that's probably what sparked off the idea to make this as a proper feature film, because somebody must have watched that, saw the potential, and again, I know a lot of people don't like it.
It's like a spec. It's considered a spec film or proof of concept. Like, exactly. Yeah, it can work, but the problem is that it barely focused on Sonic. It tried to establish the fact that South Islanders.
Yeah.
It says I rather have the idea of like Sonic Sat-AM or the Archieverse where you have humans and Mobius, they just coerce the planet.
Together, yeah.
Yeah.
Which again, I mean, probably the reason they couldn't do that is because of budgetary reasons. So obviously in the feature film you can have that. So arguably I would like to think they would try and do that. But again, we're still not too sure what on earth the film is going to be. Is it going to be, like you said, is it going to be set in Sonic's world with humans and creatures running around? Or is it going to be the typical they come to our world type thing?
That's the last thing people need is Sonic X the movie.
Yeah, we don't need, again, I'll take the Smurf thing, we don't really need them, they're in their world and they come to our world and they don't know how things work and kooky crazy bullshit stuff.
Yeah, they know how to eat normal food like chili dogs.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't think... But yeah, I mean, obviously, talking anything to do with Sonic the Hedgehog is a risky thing, because let's be fair, we're old enough to know that we've gone through the whole argument of who voices Sonic, what does he look like, what game type are you... What new abilities are putting in? Why are you taking that out? How come blah blah's in this? How come Doobie-Doo's gone? And even with a feature film, people are going to be you're treading on some, I wouldn't say thin ground, but you are going to upset a few people anyway. Regardless.
Yeah, you're going to alert a few skeptics, but I'd rather be a skeptic rather than a pessimist who just negative all the way and expects the worst. It's like you can openly enjoy something, you can openly expect good, but again, consider, like you say, we're considering how much bullshit with the fans and the series has gone through. This film is pretty much thin ice between good or bad. And considering how well the Assassin's Creed movie is doing, which could have been a great feature film.
That's something I want to bring up again, because remember we did an item box on, last year seemed to be the revival of video game movies. We had Warcraft, Ratchet and Clank, Angry Birds, and, the very end, Assassin's Creed, and seemingly nearly all of them didn't really do very well. I think Angry Birds is the one that did okay.
It did the best because Angry Birds is just like, it had something made for it rather than, let's just completely retool it.
I know, technically Angry Birds has already got an empire already, but that said, it's weird to think that we're still in that area where video game movies have not yet, we still haven't considered we haven't really had the great video game movie of the 21st century yet, have we? I mean, most of them are either okay, tolerable, or just naff as hell.
Unless you really like to punish yourself.
Yeah. So again, I don't know how exactly they're going to do this. I mean, like I said, I'm going into this as completely open as I can because, and like I said, because we now have, as we said, Sega's pretty much considering we have now 3 separate Sonics, Classic, Modern, and Boom, and this is going to be its own entity, like the Turtles are. We have live-action Turtle movies and the Nickelodeon TV's Turtles series. So really, that's the way I'm looking to it. But again, it's the skeptic of what the direction they want to go with could be anything. I mean, again, I would like it to be good. I mean, it'd be kind of fun to see it if it does well. But like I said, I haven't got a clue. I mean, all I have to say is basically, as long as I would say Sega has a ball on this, because I do know it's really between Sony and Sega really sort of putting this whole thing together. And again, the plan is they're going to make more different types of movies. Finally getting like a Golden Axe movie, Altered Beast movie sometime in the near future as well, if it does well. So I'm pretty sure for their sake they want to make this work.
We all know it will.
Well, we don't know. I mean, as like you said, whenever it comes out, whether it be this year or next year, if we see it and we look back at it now, and we can either say, did we predict it to be shit or not? So there's a fun game for you people. So see if we were right or wrong.